So welcome back to A Word With Yourself.
Yeah,
with me,
welcome back.
And Jen.
We're happy to be here.
As always, delighted.
As always. There's the only things I want to talk about today were maybe not for this meeting, because I was going to ask you, did you see the news, the video of Zelenskyy and Trump and Vance at the White House today?
So I haven't watched it because I am afraid to. I just don't. I've seen the comments though on the White House Instagram post, and they're all very positive towards Zelenskyy, which is like the majority of them. I really, it's kind of like one of those things, like a car crash. Like I want to watch it, but I don't. I want to look at it, but I don't want to.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to have to in order to have the context for it and to kind of get in on the conversation. I'm too focused on Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni at the moment. So
actually, you know what? I want to come back to that in a second because I've been kind of following that. Okay. But basically, you know, in the White House they do that little press conference where they're both in those yellow armchairs. You know, we've seen a lot of Trump. It's him and Zelenskyy on the armchairs, and then Vance on a little kind of sofa to the side. In and of itself, it's funny.
Little bar stool to the side.
Yeah, mortified.
Oh, that's sad.
But basically Zelenskyy and Vance and Trump start shouting at each other. They end up shouting at each other. Yeah, I mean, like shouting, not like screaming shouting, like raised voices, angry shouting. You know, that kind of like.
Yeah.
Not like yelling, but like
not very presidential.
Oh, it was funny. And then Vance and Trump were just like, have you ever said you're sorry, though? Basically, obviously, it's exactly that. They're like, you're not thankful. You haven't said thanks enough. When was the last time you said thanks? You should be more thankful to us. There was like mean girls bullying like a.
Oh my God, the little kid who can't defend himself. So, like,
it's just like,
wow.
Anyway, and then apparently afterwards, the deal was off and Zelenskyy left the White House. Obviously, that's not in the video, but apparently the aftermath is he was like, nope, he left.
Oh Lord.
But yeah, a lot of people are like, thankfully someone stuff for him, and they embarrassed themselves. The thing is, they didn't embarrass themselves enough because you know that their followers are going to spin it that they were standing up to, you know, and it's just so pathetic. But you can already see what the propaganda looks like on their side, and so it's not going to change anything, but it's kind of satisfactory to watch and also cringe.
Okay. Oh God, I'll have to bite the bullet and watch it later just so I can speak about it like I know what I'm talking about. So, I don't know.
Tell me about the latest in Lively and Baldoni, because the last I heard was after the Saturday Night Live thing that everybody thought that she didn't know what Ryan Reynolds was going to say, and she was a bit like, and they think that he's secretly just going to end up divorcing her.
Oh my God. I feel like he's probably got the ick at this point. I don't know. I'm very invested in it now, and I listen to a lot of podcasts about it, and I think I could hold up in court to argue for Justin Baldoni at this stage. I think because initially when the complaint came out, I was this is also scary how like the perception can be swayed by different voices talking about things, and like I'm conscious of that. But now that I've really looked into the legal documents and the information that's been provided to me, I think it was a very bad move on her point or her behalf to even like file the complaint at all, because there's just so many things that have been proven not right. And he obviously is a bit weird and I don't even know.
He's just very cringy.
Yeah, he is. He's very cringy. And she's very cringy too, like listening to the messages she sent him and stuff like that. I just think like she would have a valid complaint if she hadn't messaged and there wasn't all this stuff that she had said and done as well. And there's just so much pointing towards her exaggerating and kind of making things up. And then the fact that she like took over the film and everything like that as well. And from a marketing point of view, obviously it was marketed very poorly, you know, grab your florals, grab your friends, come to the movie about domestic violence. And like, who okayed that? Even she should have been like, this is weird. But no, she went for it. And she should have also known that there would be a lot of talk why he wasn't there. So like, just get over it for the little period of time where you're going to be in the view of the world.
Nobody, as like so many other people have done, I'm sure. I'm moving each other. Yeah,
exactly. Like just get over it for a week, and then there'll be no questions asked. Like, why isn't he here? Blah blah blah. Why are you talking about it like this? And apparently, the marketing plan was like a page document, like a page-long Word document. And I actually can't believe that from Sony Pictures to put something together like that, and that not one person was like, I don't think we should be going with these taglines. Just a bit out of touch. It's mad anyway. It's very interesting, and I bet she's kind of sorry she got herself into it now. Although, who knows, she might be just delusional and wants to keep going. But neither party is going to win, really.
No, nobody wins, and that's it. I mean, I understand why, you'd want to defend yourself, right? But nobody wins in that scenario, and there was no need to escalate it. Because I think all it really, I remember watching it watching the publicity of when the movie came out, watching like the internet be like, wow, Blake Lively's terrible, and all this other old interviews came up and blah, blah, blah. And so, imagine then that her team are like, okay, we need to do some like damage control. And then it swings back to like, oh, it turns out she was fine the whole time. It was all Justin Baldoni, blah, 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 blah. Everybody's fully over here. And then he releases his stuff and everybody's like, whoa, actually, nope.
That's exactly what I was like.
Yeah. And it is, you're right, it is scary because I did look at some of the stuff and be like, oh God, not another one,
Yeah.
But then see it go the other way. And the thing is like, it's amazing how easily we can be manipulated by relatively little media, right? In the grand scheme of things. It really is scary to do that. And also, on a different note on the topic itself, like if what he said is true, like, and all the evidence seems to point towards the fact that she's kind of making some stuff here, like she just ruins it for everybody else.
I know.
Because all of the people who are genuine accusations and et cetera, like we still need to default believe women, right?
It's not good for the women's movement, definitely not.
No, exactly. Just compound it. So that's kind of really sucks. But like, it just seems that there was both incredibly bad PR and then also very good because we were obviously all pulled in exactly on one side or the other at every point in that journey.
Yeah. And I'm ashamed of myself. Watch now. She'll come out with something else and I'll be like, I knew she was right all along.
No,
I don't think that's going to happen. And the majority of her complaints are like that she felt uncomfortable, which is not illegal. And I feel uncomfortable all the time. And I have no one to blame. I wish I did. But so anyway, I'm really, really into that case now. And God, it's not even going to go to trial till next year. So we have a long time to go, unless they settle, which apparently they're not going to because neither wants to. Both want to be right.
Yeah.
But the courts must be like, this is ridiculous. Like, you're wasting our time. Like, this is he said, she said. Like, there's not really any tangible evidence that points to like really harassing somebody or anything like that. Not that I've seen, allegedly.
But there's probably a lot of evidence for libel.
Yeah.
So that will be, and then kind of reputation of damage, which causes monetary
Well, what she's said about him,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they'll have all of that. There'll be like a counter suit, right?
Oh, it's not like
just forget about it until it happens next year. I'm sure there'll be plenty in the time in between that will happen that we'll
that we can talk about. Could you imagine the amount of workplace things we could have talked about if we were on that set? if any had happened, we would have had a lot of content.
That is so true. Yeah.
Red flags galore.
Yeah, it's so timely though. I think in terms of a lot of people realizing, admitting that they were like hoodwinked, and how easy it is to completely form an opinion of a couple of people. But like that on that small story relatively, but that blowing up on like a national and global stage, like it does make you stop and go, oh, how much am I actually being manipulated into
so
opinions?
So much. I read the Daily Mail like every day, and God knows what I'm being manipulated into believing.
Listen, okay, I'm a big believer in balanced news sources. So, and I know the Daily Mail is very entertaining, and I have also in my past I've gone through periods of being almost addicted to reading it. But read all the Daily Mail you want, but for every Daily Mail article, you have to read a different article from a balanced news. You have to balance a lot of work out somewhere.
I don't know. That sounds boring.
This is the problem. In fact, there's a great article I read in the Atlantic about one of what's his face, Rupert Murdoch's sons. And how he's trying to kind of get away from the whole Murdoch empire, media empire, because he runs Fox News and all of that. But talking about explicitly the fact that the ratings were up on those new things is why they got more extreme and far right and full of lies, is because more people watched it because it was more entertaining. And that's true. Why it got, so that if more you kind of buy into it, theoretically you're, fuels the machine just as much.
Yeah.
So I'll send you that article.
Okay.
Actually, in all seriousness, it's actually very good article. I would say.
Okay, I'll give it.
It's like a long form article. It's very long.
Can I read it aloud? Can I click like read aloud or like?
Yeah, there should be. So I actually bought a subscription to the Atlantic this year because it wasn't that expensive. Yeah. And as part of that subscription, I can gift articles to my friends. So because they're normally behind a paywall.
Yeah, my dad does that with The Economist, and I have the Financial Times, so I can do that too. So I do mix in. I mix in the Daily Mail with the odd Financial Times article or a Harvard Business Review. Not often, but if there's pictures of it.
I know there's like there was a time I remember when one of my first jobs in a call center, and obviously everything was shut down on our computers, except for what we could do. But then also we were allowed to kind of read the news, and the Daily Mail was the most entertaining form of what I could do on basically what I was able to do on the computer, right? Because you couldn't read one else, and you couldn't. I think at the time it had to be Internet Explorer. Couldn't even download Chrome. Like you just were stuck in Internet Explorer, and like you'd be flagged if you went on to any fun things. But you could go on to news. So the Daily Mail was my entertainment for like a solid year and a half because that job was so boring.
You're hearing a lot about what the stars of EastEnders and stuff were up to in the UK showbiz. That's my UK showbiz is my go-to. Like I US showbiz sometimes, but UK showbiz more so. See what the Love Island people are up to mostly.
Yeah.
But
and I was living in England at the time, so it was.
Oh yeah. Probably
so
a lot of things about Katie Price and lots of things like that.
It almost was probably around that time.
Yeah. I mean, she still pops up now and again in it, but not the same.
Share as a gift.
Thanks.
Copy link. WhatsApp.
I worked in a call center too. Well, when I moved here first for like 2 months, Holt Renfrew, the really fancy department store.
Oh yeah.
It would just be like old women calling, like, can you put me through to the fur department? My fur is on hold there in the storage room. I'm like, okay, because they had like a fur vault where people stored their furs.
God.
Yeah, it was mental. Anyway,
so funny.
So no red flags there, actually. I don't think. I mean, I was only in the call center and I was only temporary while I tried to get a full-time job here. And
yeah, it's very a lot of those call centers are very like come in, do exactly what we tell you to do and leave. And honestly, if you only care about doing that, that's perfectly fine. And you don't have an asshole for a manager. Yeah. Then they're great jobs for that reason.
I never got bored, like, because I'm constantly doing stuff and like directed people, and it was actually fine. And then I got my friend a job there after I left. So there was a trail of Irish people working in this fancy department store.
They're probably fulfilling their D&I because you have that constant stream of an immigrant coming in and working. Yeah.
Female immigrants. Oh dear. And we're all from Kildare, so we all sound the same.
A very homogenous group of immigrants.
Yeah. Diversify outside of North Kildare. Anyway. One of the red flags, we asked our followers to give us red flags for the office. And I don't know if you saw what I sent you earlier. One of them was similar to a red flag that you had talked about, which was misleading job descriptions.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah. So I thought, you'd want to give that a bit of a look at. Because I also have a story on it too.
Yeah. The misleading is, I think there's two ways. There's two of like the most annoying ways they are misleading. I'll say the obvious one first, the obvious short one first, which is kind of salary. And even if the salary is not on it, just misleading in terms of how much experience it wants, and then they tell you the salary and it's really low. Yeah. So it's when there's this like mismatch between like, oh, it's this like, senior director, and then you go in and like, okay, so we pay minimum wage, and you're like,
okay with you?
Huh? So I find that's misleading, and that's one that obviously is terrible. People should stop doing that. But the other one is misleading in terms of what the job actually is, but also like when they're laying out the requirements of the person for the job, right? And sometimes this is intentional, sometimes it isn't. But there's a lot of people writing job descriptions for jobs that they don't actually really know much about. And this is really common in smaller companies as well, because obviously the smaller the company is, the less likely. Sometimes you're hiring this person as your first one of those roles ever. Yeah. And so you don't really know how to describe the job. You just know it kind of exists and what they kind of need to do. and also describe the qualifications. Like if you're, you decide on a level of that job you want, and you're not an expert in that field, how do you know what qualifications you need to put down? Now, obviously, with just a little bit of work, you can figure that out, right? You could ask to speak to someone in that field already and get them to write the job description for you. You can use, the specialized recruiters that recruit in that area, and they can help you out. Or at this day and age, do some research online, right? You'd be able to generally kind of find out a lot of the things and how to at least screen for that. But of course, that takes more time and more money, and most people won't do that, or can't do that as well. Yeah. And so they just guess. And their standard guesses are, well, it's an IT job, so it'd be great if they had like an engineering degree. You're like, okay. Yeah. Right, let's start there. And then they'll be like, oh, and we want them, maybe with like a lot of experience, like 5 to 10 years. Okay, just put that down. And so like people just kind of guess, but they always guess at like an upper limit. They're like, well, wouldn't it be great if we could get the like best person in the entire world to come and do this job for us, right? And they write the description kind of based on that. And a lot of the time it's unnecessary. And so what happens is it hurts everybody. It hurts the company because they're likely to only get the applicants, who are fulfilling the job description that they put out. And if it's not well researched enough or well thought out, they're going to struggle to hire for that job because it's different. So it's misleading. That's terribly annoying. But then it also hurts your diversity. And we are going to keep harping on about this because it has, I'll have to pull up the name of the study now, but men will usually, obviously not 100%, will usually apply for jobs, even if they only meet about half of the criteria, right? So they have a lot more tolerance, probably due to nurture, let's be clear, for just being confident that they'll be able to get something.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, women normally only apply for jobs where they meet 100% of the requirements on the job description. So I guess there's this assumption that you have to be perfect, right? There's, as we all know, that kind of overachieving that comes in with being like a woman working generally. Yeah. And so if you have a job that has 10 requirements, you are likely to get more men applying for it who only fulfill half of the requirements, and women who feel that they have 100% of the requirements. And then due to a number of other factors, the likelihood then, if you have more male candidates than female candidates, the male candidates are more likely on average to get the job. Yeah. And because your job description is also misleading, they're also even a little bit more likely to get the job because you don't really know what your requirements are. So you can't actually assess whether those women have 100% of the requirements. So it's like this whole like mess complex of it. Yeah. And so I always really kind of get annoyed for, but also disappointed in just the lack of care sometimes put into job descriptions, especially when it's literally a lose-lose. Everybody loses. The job description.
Nobody's winning in this scenario.
Through to either will or skill, right? It doesn't matter why it's misleading. If it is misleading, everybody loses. Your quality of your candidate loses, equity loses,
everything
loses. So yes, that's my soapbox. And I'm going to cement that one in, I think.
No, that's fair. Have you ever had a job where you started the job and it was like totally different from the job description?
Like almost everyone.
True. When you get in, you notice things that you actually have to do that aren't called out because maybe they are boring or they're just kind of ad hoc, but you do them a lot. Ad hoc.
And it's kind of okay if that's understood in the beginning, because I have gone to plenty of jobs where the job description and the conversation about the job description has been, there's definitely these tasks, but other stuff's going to happen.
Yeah.
And we want to go here with the companies, so we're hoping the job evolves. So when you're expecting it to change and be different, that's okay. But yeah, it's kind of the ones where they've listed, some really important stuff that looks great in your CV, and then there'll be like some admin work, and then you go in and it's all admin.
You're just photocopying.
Yeah. It doesn't really happen to me much anymore, but it definitely would happen a lot more kind of, when they're trying to entice you in.
Yeah, that's true. I saw a job on LinkedIn, how you get like in your feed or whatever, because I'm not actively looking for a job, but it came up and I was like, I'll just have a look at what the job description is here. And it was for a marketing director. And I went down to the requirements just to see what they were. And they required HTML coding. And I've seen this a few times, and it just stood out to me today because we had talked about, we were going to talk about job descriptions, and that is not something a marketing person should or usually does know. And so they're looking for this person who does multiple specialities or whatever in one job. Like, it's impossible if you're going to find a marketing director who can code a website. I mean, I have some basic HTML knowledge from just being at a small business and having to figure out how to edit the website because we had nobody else to do it. But it's very basic, not like advanced coding and CSS, like all this stuff. So I was actually, it really pissed me off because I was like, how is anyone, unless they're a very, very particular type of person, like the number of candidates that would have that knowledge as a marketing director is very, very few. So yeah, I hate those type of job descriptions and it's nearly as if somebody with no marketing experience put together the job description or worked with somebody, say, who is head of another department, who says, yeah, we want a marketing person. And so they put together a job description, not even understanding what a marketing person does or like where their core skills should be. They shouldn't be involved in coding and things like that. That's a special role with huge requirements, like technical requirements and education and stuff too. So anyway, that was my little rant. I was annoyed to see that because I was like, how are us marketing folks meant to get jobs in the future if all I've done is study business stuff and not coding? So
yeah, it's why I do think that like recruiters have a place. I mean, like we've all had bad experience with recruiters, right? But like for stuff like this, when it's not that we can't go out and post a job description and review CVs and do the initiative. It's not that you can't do that. Of course, you can do that. But I think where they help in is expertise. So you find the right recruiter, like you find a recruiter that specializes in marketing roles or blah blah blah. They can help you flesh out your job description. They have the expertise to understand what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And then be able to assess that at least initially assess that in candidates coming in. And so I think recruiters definitely play a place there, because if you don't know, the best thing you can do, even if it is to spend a little money, is to find someone who does, because you'll save yourself money in the long run, hopefully. Or you can try and duke it out yourself and go through 3 different marketing hires in like 2 years before you find somebody. Like, how much more expensive is that, right?
And in theory, that is the best practice. But we both know that if people can't actually see that cost right there in front of them right now, which they could see with a recruiter's costs, it's like, oh, it's free to do it ourselves, not thinking about the long term,
It's the penny wise, pound foolish. Maybe we should do a penny wise, pound foolish series.
that ages. Examples. I was just thinking of Pennywise, the
clown.
Yeah. Scary stuff. Yeah. So, any other red flags you can think of?
We should just close out every one of these with the red flag of the day.
Yeah. Okay. There we go. Then that was our red flag of the day.
The red flag of the day.
Yeah. Good stuff. Well, I've got to go. I made cupcakes because I'm going to Ashling's tomorrow to Snow Tube, and I need to ice them tonight so I can pack them because I have to get up at like 6 a.m. Well, 6:30 to get the bus to Coburg.
Coburg? Where are you going tubing? Coburg's right by me.
I actually have no idea. So it's a friend of hers' birthday party. I mean, we're in our 30s. It's her birthday. And so I'm getting the bus to Coburg from Union Station. This Flix bus, which is like quite cheap. I didn't know Coburg was near you. How close is it to you?
Half an hour?
Oh, no way. Because it's $50 return on the bus.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, because like if we were to pick people up on the train, we'd either do it from Trenton Junction or Coburg. They're too close to the train station.
Oh, well, there you go.
There you go now.
There we are. So I'm getting the bus at 9 a.m. and it gets there at like 10:40 or something.
That's not bad.
Yeah, it's actually grand. My niece, Erin, and her fiance Rory got it out to Ashling's once. I don't know how they found it, but it was grand. Now the only problem is that the bus return on Sunday is at like 7:30. So Ashling's going to drop me to the GO train instead, because it's a Sunday night and I could not be dealing with getting home late and have to go to work the next day.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's
great. Have fun. I don't know what cupcakes have to do with tubing, but I'm sure you'll let me know.
I'm bringing them with me to give to Aishling. We're going to eat the cupcakes as we snow tube down the snowy mountain.
That's what I assumed, but I just didn't want to,
I mean, obviously.
Weird.
Yeah. Are you doing anything?
Board games. Got a board game day on Sunday, all this Sunday.
That's not like you.
You said that's not like me? No, I would never. I would never. Yeah.
Well, that sounds fun. All right. Well, thanks for listening, and we'll be here next week.
We'll be here next week.
Bye.